All right. Okay. This is sports journalism. It's funny that when I did this, I put it here in the shape of this as if I want to compete. I don't know how they decided to design a bulletin, but I've never preached in the church before. So the way I just put this, I'm just like, oh, this is how it looks like. You are the pastor is in front of the congregation. Okay. Right. What I wanted us to do today, I wanted us to do on something to do with sources. But before I start to say something on that, I want just to go back to what we did last time. But I want to just emphasize some of the things in terms of I talked about game, the checklist. Right? We say that what are the checklists for the games? Right? And now it's almost everything. We talked about it's almost like what do you know? I mean, what are the things or the elements that are for sure are supposed to be available or present or included in your game card that you should not forget. So those are the checklists we talk about. So if you miss one of the two, maybe one aspect of the checklist, it means maybe something is not complete. Because we talk about that, what the audience are expecting from the presentation or from the write-up. They are looking for some other things. So part of the checklist will be one of the maybe aspects that the audience member are looking. So for a good sports journalist, we do make sure that you don't, finish your maybe write-up or covering without addressing some other aspects of the game, right? So on the checklist, we talked about the things to do with we say it's obvious that the audience are looking for the final score. That's an obvious. That it's the first thing they ask if it was a game, football game. Say, okay, what was the score like? What was the score like? Right here, do we have one something? Because what you're doing has also reminded me that I also wanted to charge my phone. So now I'm looking around. I'm saying, is this only? They are no. This is for special something. For USB. Oh yeah, this yeah. I can use USB. So what we can do? Okay, it's a model. I think without buying this feature, buying sockets, I'll buy something like this. Because now they have been reinvented these sockets. Because like the message when I bought, I discovered there were so many ports of different elements. I didn't know that they even have the USB there. So, I just do the line for myself with my phone. We have electricity problem not our end. So now, I did not charge my phone properly. That's why the USB might do the trick. Is it charging here? Why is it not charging? Oh, I need to press this button. Nothing's happening. I don't know what's happening. You see, everything seems to be okay. But only that. Okay. If this is not charging, I'll use the same. Windows for the USB, although sometimes it's a little bit slow. But there is a USB port that I can place my phone somewhere here. Right. And then I shut the phone down. Okay. That's that. So what I'm saying is that as a sports journalist, you want to cover a game, you want to write something about this game, like a sports game. There are some checklists. This is what we talked about last time, so I'm just going through it. That's what we finished. So I say a checklist is like, what you need to know that you must not forget when you are covering the game. So I say obviously, you ask yourself that what does the or the reader want to know? So obviously I say final score is obvious. That they want to know how the game has ended. So you're talking about names of the teams. Which teams the teams that were playing. So the final score. The names of the teams, the type of sports. What it was, the football, was it netball? If it's coming from a school, it means we're going to talk about which school that was, which college that was. If it's a league, where the team is coming from, where it is taking place, actual game, how it was progressing. The game, the way it started, the turning point of the game, how, sometimes if you see, which is most like rugby, there is a specific, maybe winning move, or even in basketball, it could be a move that you won the game. So we will explain about that. The strategy that were employed, what strategy? For example, if you know about football, we talk about maybe the system of the game system, like 4-2 something. You talk about the players, outstanding players. Which were the outstanding players in the game? You also think about the fans. The fans they were around. Did they have any impact? Because you know about the away team. When people say that it's a home ground, most of the people they are happy because of why are they happy? Because there is an extra element support coming from the fans, the supporters. So if the supporters play the part, you also explain about that. Because you will see in the game, for example, in football, if the game is at Old Trafford, if it's Manchester United, you will know the noise that's going to be coming from the fans. If it's going to be at the altitude, if it's going to be high, now it's Emirates, Arsenal. They talk about Etihad, Manchester City, or Bernabeu, or Santiago. Like talk about the Barcelona, whatever. But home ground is something about home ground. So you talk about that. We even talk about the size of the crowd. Because sometimes you might be home ground, but maybe there are just a few people who turn up. So that would be something to matter. We talk about, apart from that, we talk about external factors, meaning not just the players, not just the game, but it could be the weather. Maybe the weather was not, we didn't have good weather. Some of the people complain about pitch, and we heard about some of the people. I know, the pitch was not okay. But people say no, but the other team was playing on the same pitch. So if you say the pitch was not okay, how did the other team won or play well? But still, it's something that the other team can talk about, even the Lucas, the crowd before. So you make sure that you talk about that. If the pitch was fine, you talk about the way you're going to run, the perfect pitch, whether the conditions was okay, for that. We talk about the same, all the players, we talk about whether they suffer injuries. What else? The others, basic statistics, as we talked about. If you are heavy, the communication of the girls, basic statistics, it means statistics about the players, statistics about the team, about the players, about the coaches, even about the record of the team, the whole team at the stadium. So you combine it. The duration of the game. If this one usually is, if it was, an awkwardly, like nowadays, sometimes we expect that football is 90 plus 3 minutes. But I think one of the games I discovered it was, it's the Arsenal game, it was like 90 plus something like 12. So they would add like odd minutes or unusual extra time while maybe the home team is losing. Well, I know, certain thing is the game we did that. Well, right? The home ground was losing, now they added more extra time, and during that extra time, the home ground team scored. So people said, no, this should be the favorite home team. Or why did they add all this? So it will be an issue. Yeah, so if that is an issue, you notice you also including that. And anything that you think that is relevant. So in another way, when you talk about the games checklist, you talk about anything that is concerning that particular game you are going to write about, right? So that's what I wanted us to finish. We want to talk about it, right? So today, as I say, I wanted us to talk about sources, which is finding sources in this field, right? As you already know that as is in other news stories, for you to get the information you want, to write the stories you want, or you like them, you need to get the information first. And the information you like to get usually it comes from the sources. The more sources you have, the easier life you are going to have in terms of coming up with stories. If you don't have adequate sources, the harder it is going to be for you to be coming up with stories in this discipline. Yes, it's as well as other sections of journalism, as we already aware, right? So, I just to talk about here, say, if when it comes to the type of reports, I mean sources, it's not different to the other type of sources. You probably heard of before about sources. I believe this is not the first time. One of the courses along the way, we did talk about sources. I believe that you have got an idea of maybe some of the type of sources you might have. So we say, sports reporters have ample legwork to do before even opening a laptop or picking up a camera, developing and working with sources, right? And staying informed, keeping abreast of developing situations and creating story ideas, right? So this is best accomplished by first establishing beats, right? So first of all, I believe that when we say sources, we know what we're talking about. I don't believe that is a new thing when that I can start describing it, but it's something that we know. We talk about sources, we're talking about where the information comes from, and the one who provided that is information is a person, right? So that's the thing. So let's start looking at what are called, or what is called, I think let me say, okay, I might come back to it later. Then I want to talk about what is called beat reporting, but maybe that will be later on. I'll just combine. But I think I said it before when I say a beat reporter, when I say beat reporter, whereby if it's a discipline like if it's sports journalism, when you say this is a beat reporter in sports journalism, what it means in sports you have different categories inside it. Right? This is not just the one game. You have got basketball, you have got football, you have got netball. Now, if somebody is a beat reporter, he could be a reporter who specializes on one maybe sporting discipline, who specializes in reporting on one sporting discipline, right? So it could be maybe netball, it could be so. You usually find this who are called beat reporters. Right? I believe that when I say beat reporters, you already know what I'm talking about. Beat reporters. Now, you might even suggest maybe how, if you would like to become a good beat reporter, how could you do it? It's something that you are even without telling you. You could suggest, for example, you are reporting on different sporting disciplines. Now, if you are going to be reporting on one, what does it mean? It means you need to know that particular discipline inside out. Because it is just one. Right? So it will involve like research, in-depth research, whereby it's more or less like you're going to master that particular discipline, and then you need to make sure that you know there should not be questions about that particular discipline of sporting discipline that can make you fail to get maybe an explanation. Right? You should be able to do that, right? So I will come back later to talk about that, but let's just go into developing sources, because that's what I wanted us to concentrate first. So it's developing sources. Developing sources in journalism is what is called, cultivating sources. So it's as if you are cultivating something, which is important. So cultivating a broad range of sources can take weeks or months or years, right? So the process of cultivating sources as a reporter never ends, right? And constantly you make sure that you update your sources, because you have you could have what is called a contact book as your own, or you have sources. So you don't just have to rely on the same sources. Say, okay, I already have the sources. The thing is, you need to be keeping on adding on new sources. One, also you need to be updated, because those sources, the sources you have might be maybe changing some details, maybe addresses, maybe phone numbers. So as the time goes, you need to make sure that you are checking in with your even if there is no story, because it's a poor whereby you have sources, maybe contacts, but now you don't even communicate with them unless maybe there is a story to cover. So if you are going to be doing that, it's a problem, because you might not know that maybe that particular source maybe has changed the maybe the contact, or maybe that source is no longer working for that company. So if you say, okay, I want to write a story, now immediately you get the source, you call the person, no, I don't want to work for that department. You're going to be in trouble. That's why I say have your sources. As a time goes, just make sure sometimes just casually try the content. Like you are trying to get no one is captivating. you are trying to get close to them. You know, you do it. Right? So, share. Okay. So as I say, you should make sure that you constantly update the details like the emails, the numbers, and the like, phone address in your book, right? So when it comes to the sources in general, which is including, we'll talk about them here differently to the beat reporters, right? So usually most of the reporters who will be beat reporters if you go into most of these institutions. And I mean, even, I don't know here in Malawi where it was small, but most of the sports departments do have a lot of these beat reporters, right? So you have, in terms of the sources, it's the same type. You have, like the types you have primary sources, right? Let me say types, which are obvious. Primary sources, and then we already know that the next will be secondary. I believe that we did something on the primary sources. What do we know about primary sources or primary sources? Yeah, okay. So there are those ones that you get the first-hand information from, and the primary sources. If you think about the sources, this will be taken as the most important type of sources, because this is now the origin, the original source. All the other type of sources that you are going to be coming after this, things could happen. You know, somebody will manipulate something. So you could have a lot of manipulations from here, or inaccuracies from here. But from this guy, because the original source is this one. When you quote that person, no one will say, no, you made a mistake. No. If it's from the origin, if someone is supposed to be accountable, it's going to be the source, because that's where it's coming from. Yeah, so it's the most important of the sources, and these are the sources who have information or opinion that are vital to the outcome of your story, right? And if you talk about the sports, we might talk about coaches, we talk about players, athletic directors or management are all considered primary sources of any reporter. And if you see this case, another give an example of the beat reporter. So these are the people that are, you get the information first hand. It says game stories will almost contain information gleaned from interviews with coaches and players, right? Let's check it out here. So it will depend on the type of story you want, because I'm saying, I give an example that you might have maybe a main source as a player, or a main source as a coach, or a main source as a maybe the management, team or official. So if maybe it's about the performance, it could be from the coach. If you see the performance again on the actual maybe players, so it will be from the player. So you just depend on the angle that you want to write the story, then you get this. But if you talk about the game, because these are the people who are directly involved in the game, right? They are not the spectators, whereby we can say that they had nothing to do with the game. Right? They are the people that they are the ones who train players, or they are the ones who play the actual game, or they are the ones who coach, who coach the players, or the one who give the players nutrition. So they are directly involved. But if you're talking about somebody who is not even part of the team, then he's talking about the team. Now that would be maybe something else. Maybe that person will be the primary source if the story maybe is about maybe what the fans are saying, something like that. But if it's about the team, those are the one of the main sources. Like you talk about a story about a player being suspended from the team, we have essential information from the coach, right? Why the player is being punished, how long the player will be suspended, and the terms of suspension, right? So coaches make those decisions. Therefore, they are primary sources in such circumstances. So you can even see here the story. The story we want to write is about a player who has been suspended. Okay? So you are going to be the one. Okay, who can be the primary source? So if the player has been suspended, you know that the one who suspends the player is the coach, and he's the one who makes the decision to say, I will suspend this player, and the one who knows the actual reasons why the player has been suspended, the one who can tell you about the duration. So if that is the thing, the primary source should know is, the coach. When players break records, reach milestones, or are honored with the prestigious awards, they become primary sources, because they are the ones now who has done something. They have won the Ballon d'Or award. So you will not go and ask the coach, how do you feel about? So that will be another different. More or less, will be like if you ask the coach about the player who has won the award, it will be as if somehow it's from the secondary source. Because you don't even know how they play. You cannot even say, how do you feel? The person who did not know, who is not the one who has won. Maybe, or imagine, that's how is he playing? So he has to be explaining, so it can be awkward. But now, if this is the type of story you are looking for, the primary source is going to be the player himself or herself. Right, so most stories are best presented with multiple primary sources, right? A story about a coach's future or employment with a team or possible loss of employment needs information from more than just a coach. So as I'm saying already, when you're thinking about the sources, sometimes you say, I'm going to use this source. No wonder we say a good story, you don't just rely on one source. If you have got a story that is relying on one source, somehow it is weak. I know it will depend somehow you do that, but if it's a story that is, it seems like more people were concerned, involved. As in this one, where maybe the coach is about to be fired. And you know that the coach might have a say on that because he's the one who's going to be fired. And management is also could have a say, if an official from there, because they are the ones who are going to make the decision. And even sometimes, even the players, right? So it will depend on maybe what's happening. But players will come out later on because they're not the one who are going to make a decision. So they might not be like in player. But if it's going to be the actual issue of being suspended or maybe fired and the like, the coach and like in this one, we talk about the coach, the guys from the management team, whoever the officials there, might be relevant to be posing as your primary source because they are going to tell you the reason of that decision. Yeah, because if they tell you this decision, maybe the coach might say, oh, that's not true. The main reason maybe is this. That's why you will still need to hear from this to have the actual whole story. Because when you say, I've won an award as a player, now, and there could be some other people, maybe coach and like saying, okay, maybe you won an award about, you won this award because of this. But that will not be relevant much or important much because the awards itself, they have good criteria that, or they know the elements that make somebody to win that particular award. So it will usually require you to find a player and then use him as a source, a primary source. Right? So, as I say, you have this one as a number of sources because of this involvement maybe filing of the coach. Reporters need to contact what are called athletic directors or management to ask questions about possible contract negotiations, right? So the thing is, sometimes because that also happens, whereby you are looking for information, and maybe the details are, for example, issues to do with the contracts in players. If they say they are still negotiating, so you might expect that all the time, that when you ask about the information of the details, they are going to give you. You might face an answer like no comment. They will just say no comment. You can't comment. You know. So situations could be issues to do with, they are doing negotiation are still under something like that. So somehow, if maybe there is a problem, there are rumors that there's a problem maybe with the player, and you know that maybe this player might be sold, and you ask management and they are telling you no comment, you can know that they could be something. Because why are they failing to just even say that's not true? Why are they saying no comment? Because it could be. So you could figure out that there are signs that maybe those rumors could be true. Yeah, but as you also know that if you are asking a source for information, and that particular source says no comment, that is comment alone. You don't say that I was not given any answer. No. If they say no comment, they have gave you a response. So you indicated that. Asked about the situation of development, he refused to comment. Or if it was on the air, like radio, you capture that. So you indicate. So sometimes, sources, they might think they are clever by saying no comment and thinking that nothing is going to be said about it. While when they say that, you might still use it. So the other problem, we have got a problem with some of the sources. Some of the sources maybe who had a bad experience with the press or the media, whereby maybe the media wrote a bad story. Because there's a problem of understanding in between like the sources and the media. In the sense that most of the time when the sources, yes? Okay. Most of the times when the sources are giving you or would like to give, let me say, are giving you information. There is that notion of thinking that the story that is going to come out is going to be a good story about it. That's what they think. Yeah? And it's funny because you are even encountered that when you go, you get the information, they really ask you something, especially when it comes to if you are writing about companies, maybe it's a business issue, or when you are writing about the organizations that have good sponsors abroad, they even ask you, when can we expect the story to come out? Something like that. And the other problem is because they don't know what you write. They think like they know what you want to write. Because as I say, as the source, as a writer or reporter, your story is not going to be determined by what the source is saying, is thinking, or is expecting. Your story, your angle of the story is not going to be based on the expectation of the source. Your story is going to be based on the news elements. That's what happens. So these guys, ladies, whatever, they don't know about news elements. They think like, when you take this information from them, oh, the story is going to be good. No wonder, when they discover that, there was a bad story. And now, they think that, no, next time when this reporters come, I'm not going to tell the meaning. Which is a blunder also. And some of them, like Trump, Donald Trump discovered, I think Donald Trump, he understood the media. The media was writing a lot of bad things about him. But when the media asked him questions, he was not saying, no. He could even, when he was boarding a plane, he could pause before boarding a plane, maybe take something like, maybe 30 minutes or almost an hour, just answering the questions from the journalists. Asking them all the questions he was taking them. To the extent that even the journalists are even asking them any question. They would even be exhausted. The trick is, it's like they say you are using the same weapon that is against you. You're using the weapon that is against you, against them. That's the trick. Right? They use the media to say bad about you. If you want to clarify yourself, you need to use the same media. You don't need to run away from it. Because the only problem is, they have said something bad about you, and the people will believe it. To clarify yourself, you cannot say, I'm not going to talk about it, because they don't know you are saying. So what do you need to do? Use the same media, say you are saying. People will hear, oh, no, he has said it. So that's why people who understand the media, they will not shy away from the media. Even if there was a bad story. They will use the same media to clarify themselves. Yeah, but I'll say you have some other people who do have nothing. They don't understand it. They don't understand the media. So they think that they can run away. Asking them something, no comments. And they think they are okay. Which is a problem. Right? Welcome. I think this is the first class today. Right. Right. So the thing is, you might face that scenario. Let's say, but if it's no comment, it's still comment. And it's just it's funny. Brother told me that most of the organizations that are around, they rely on the same media to make their information known, right? So I think I gave an example of medical association. I'm saying, they want a series of bad stories about it. So the spokesperson decided maybe you wanted to be shiny times. The media said no. So they forget that the organization he is in, without the media, is nothing. People will not know that guy, like many organizations, they don't have platforms that you can make them known apart from the media. So the same media is the one that helped people to know that there is this organization. And for the organization to show that they are doing something, they need the same media. So you cannot boycott it, thinking that, oh, when I boycott it, I'm going to be in good health. When you boycott it, like your organization could end. Right? That's why I say that sometimes you try to run away from giving, media information, and then she realized that she can't do anything about it. She had to just give the information. Yeah, because as I said one time when I went to there, he said, no. And when you're coming, call me, I don't tell. And I went to there without calling her. I know she should say, no, why did you? No, she was there. She knew the time because we said, I didn't really say the time. But I'm saying, oh, because I didn't say the time, you're going to just copy it. But they say the time was set 10. Oh, but when you come, you should call. So I came there, and that's when they said, no, why did you call me? What you've done, I might not even give you information. I'm here, so that you really don't give me information. Because I didn't call you, but you really give the time. So she just, she discovered, if you do that, that will be another issue. It's going to be a problem next time when you will be setting up with this function. You want to boycott the same one. Now, some people that if they decide to say, let's boycott your organization, will be doomed. So, this is some of the things that you encounter. This is a little bit funny situations. Right, so coaches agents also becomes another primary source. Agents many times serve as spokesperson in lieu of coaches, right? And might provide clear details. So apart from, we're talking about the coaches agents, even players agents. There are situations when you talk about, like, they say January transfer window. During that period, in January, I mean, the month of January, in English, I mean, sporting, I mean, let me say in football or soccer. Because when you talk about football, sometimes it's a problem when you combine, I mean, in America football, they take it as the American football, which is closer to like rugby. So when you say football, they don't think about soccer. But in soccer, January, the month of January is taken as a transfer window. Maybe you heard about that transfer window. So during that time, most primary sources could become players' agents, right? Because they are the ones now who are involved in processing maybe the departure of the player to another team, or maybe they arrive. So if you discover the coaches agents, I mean players agents would become primary sources. When it's a scenario whereby coaches, the certain coach is normally to go to another team, or the contract of the certain coach is not clear, coaches agents. I don't know if it was agents, but professionally, we have got agents for coaches, agents for players. So they might also be primary sources for you. In future, investigative or other sports news stories. Other sports news stories need necessarily related to a bit or to bid or primary sources will vary depending on the topic. And local business persons and investors become primary sources for story about a city trying to attract an independent baseball team, right? So a story about the possibility of adding an early signing period for college football recruiting could be told with insights from self-proclaimed recruiting experts. So what is being said here, just about there are some other aspects of the story that you might tell that might not necessarily need players or agents or coaches to be sources. We need to talking about maybe a regional thing, as been said. Maybe you're talking about maybe a game, specific sporting discipline being introduced in a region. For example, it maybe doesn't have a serious discipline of game, and then maybe somebody else would like to introduce it. It's so that it could not be for the players, it could be for an official at a sports maybe council. So that is also a primary source. But whatever the case, as we talked about it, we see that the primary sources are those that are usually are going to be taken as the information that is going to be used at the beginning, like from the originators of that information. Okay, so then let's talk about secondary sources. Here it's like, okay, I think it's, I want to see it. I forgot what I'm saying. Now, secondary sources, they will just add others that we just have to move quickly because I don't want us to take long times in. I think other sources we're going to break them down because some other sources will be secondary or primary, But now, yeah, especially not secondary, yeah, I mean, it will be try secondary, but on a certain level. These are, let me just say, the sources that we are saying here. I mean, let me just remove these, because I don't want to get us confused. Let me just move 3, 4. But let me say primary, secondary. Then from there, because other sources will be now based on the circumstance. Will not just be like in general type set. Because in general, you're talking about primary, secondary. And then you have the others, then we're going to talk about it, or based on what we're going to see. Okay. Okay. So on that one, we're going to have secondary sources, as you see there, and secondary sources. I mean, what are secondary sources? We know that we talked about this, primary sources. How can we explain them? How can we say secondary sources are? In just in your own words. If these are the way of defining them, what do we talk say they are? The primary sources.
Keep on making the question.
Right, sources, secondary sources, what do you think? How can we, I mean, explain to other, what can we explain to a person what is secondary sources? What is the secondary source?
Secondary sources.
It could be books, yeah, but they could be people. They could be people. Because sometimes I don't want to. Yes, sir. They could be material source. Some we're going to break down. Some of when you just say like, let me say these two about it. It's like in general, like primary sources in general, meaning they could be the actual place that it's coming from. Now, is this one secondary sources? It's again. It could be, if there could be people, they could be, well, but I think, no, let's be clear. That's what I'm trying to say. Let me not confuse now. Discover that I might confuse, right? Yeah, because if it's going to be a people, it's not be people, it's not going to be secondary source. Right? Yeah? Yeah, what does it discuss? Let's do that. I know you say the person has heard, but let me tell you, if somebody is talking about the game, who are you going to quote? Are you going to quote the people who are playing the game, or are you going to quote someone who is talking about the game? So your source, who is your source? Who is your source?
Like, it's the person that I'm asking.
Right. So in the hierarchy of sources, where can that person be placed? Is it going to be placed on the secondary source? Is your first person? Because if the person who is telling you is talking about something that is not the wrong, it's not your problem. You say it's according to the source, the game will tell this. So if there is a problem, it's a problem of the source. But for you, it's a person who is telling you, that's where the information is coming from for you. I don't know how you feel, because I want to discuss to say how you can say about it. It's something that when you think about it, say, no, I think there is a problem. Maybe, as you're saying, maybe in regards to somebody was saying something.
I can use the example that you gave when you're talking about the players and the coach. You mentioned that the player can be a mentor, right? And then you as a journalist, you ask the coach, it will be like secondary because it's not him who's got the feeling of being the reward. And if we come to, let's say, a game, we might be asking someone who may have come across the game, but then it's like it's seasonal, not like you're asking them based on the first time that you want, maybe a game that happened maybe previously. You're asking, you're talking about. So you get that information, but then it will be secondary because that person might be a witness. Really someone
Right. So in terms of the secondary sources, how can we describe the secondary source? We can say the secondary source is what?
I mean, I feel like there are sources that you get maybe.
I think there for us to be to not suffer because I'm discovering that the problem of describing sources, when we describe them like let me say without much thinking, without much thoughts, we might think like that we are correct. Well, we are not correct. Well, it will depend on the language we are using. That what are we talking about? So if let me say, if it's an account of things, there was an event. Now that event, somebody saw that event happening, then it tells another person, and you heard it from the other person. So this person, who can we say is a primary source? Because why is he saying source? Okay. So I think what you're saying, that you be you're saying if if it is the one who's giving you information but did not witness the actual event, he gets the information from the actual person who witnessed the event. So that will be a secondary source. Yeah, because that's where now we will be clear. Yeah, that the secondary source are not it's not like the actual account or they don't observe or let me say it's like when you are getting information, you are not getting it from the horse mouth. Let me say, if it's a horse. You're getting it from someone who get it from the horse mouth. So if it's a book, because it's like there's an author, the author could be the primary source. Now he takes the information, he put the information in the book, you get it from the book. It means it's a secondary source. Because so I think in this one it's all about that. If we understand what a secondary source is, it will be depending on the language we use. We need to be clear. That's why I said for our stage where we are as people from other college, we need to learn to explain things. Don't just memorize your statements. Because when you have a short statement on a thing, imagine the way it seems like a very simple thing, whereby you say it, but when you think about the statement, no. You might not be accurate, but when you explain it, clear, okay, this is like this. Assume that you are telling someone who doesn't know what to think. So in our stage, I'm saying, even if the explanation is not from the book, but if you are you are showing that you have understood the thing, you get something. So right here, you just have to maybe be that clear that the second when we're talking about the information that is not obtained from the horse mouth, or maybe that would be the term that is easy, and the what else can we talk about? The secondary source. What else? Yeah, but that's that. So the thing is, out of this, what do we say? Give me another example. What are they talking about? They say, okay, they're talking about the importance of the. So let me just read this passage. I want to say what they said. Think of a secondary source. Think of a secondary source as condiments to a hamburger. You know the hamburger. So some of those elements that are applied to make a hamburger, you could probably survive without them. Because if you hamburger, if you know the hamburger, you have dirty bread, like, or buns, then you have in the middle a meat, like a meat loaf or somehow. Then you have some other elements that are they make it look good. Sometimes they add some like salads and so what they're saying a secondary source who like those salads that are attached to the main issue, like the background. If you can remove the elements, yes? Okay. If you can remove other elements, you can still survive. The bug will still be there. Right? So you will probably survive without them. But certainly add much needed flavor and zinc. So they will add flavor zinc because they are part of it. They bring something, let's say, not bad. So secondary sources are just that. They are not essential to the outcome of the story, but add information that makes the story more complete, right? They are not, because if you have got a source, let me say, because it's secondary source, they are just relaying you the story. It's not that they have created it or they did, but there's importance because they have helped you to get maybe the aspect that maybe you have never got it, but they are not. If they are not there, the story is still good because the primary source, if they are not there, the story is not there. That's maybe the major issue. You see, so these other ones. You could even live with them and you find the other sources and maybe find the actual story. But if you can eliminate it the first time, the story will not be there completely because they are the originators of that story. Right? So, like here, you say the other side, they say that story about his trophy winner, okay? Members of his family might be able to share an entertaining anecdote to spice up your story. His teammates would probably also attest to his work ethic and completeness. Reaction from the fans on the streets can give you an audience an excellent perspective, right? So I think you can say that as what you're talking about there, like whereby if it's a story, somebody's giving the reaction, maybe just what do they think about something, but you are it's like almost like that person is talking about something that he maybe has done something else, or maybe just say something that's created a story. Now others are trying to talk about that story. Then you are getting from those. That scenario is going to be, these are going to be secondary sources. Yeah, because they are just making, the story, they will tell you the story, maybe they might add a little bit what their perspective, but still they are not the ones who originally came up with that. So in that case, it could be secondary. Secondary sources ensure your audience that you are not being lazy and producing one-sided stories, right? So stories that are told using only one primary source, that could be deemed as you are lazy. You see, that's why usually I say that in good stories, they say you will not have less than, let me say, two sources. You need to have at least more than a source to make it just. Sometimes, so you approach this secondary just because you want to make sure that it's not being deemed as let's say type of story whereby everything is coming from one person, right? So no other said that these sources could be just bring, just bring maybe some additions to the actual information that you have, or you want. The other thing you're talking about, somebody's talking about the story, and unless it is a breaking news story or a deadline story, you should tell your story using more than one source. And what else do we have here? Like if it's a story about let's see here. You say 12-year-old basketball player with one arm could easily be told after you talk to just the player himself. But you can talk about his teammates. If you talk about his teammates, or opposing players, parents, spectators, we also give you much more depth, and will make your story to be in a certain way, like maybe like a rich story, right? Okay. Okay. So what I wanted to talk about is, we think about primary sources and we think about secondary sources, but sometimes you can also think about maybe try to be specific, like, okay, if was the sources that did you use human sources, or did you use maybe material sources? Because there could be sources which are not human sources, whereby maybe we talk about, as we say, books. I know in other, that's why when you go in other sectors, like if you talk about the sexual abuse, that's why when you think about sources and the same source, all the same they just tell you, books. They just say that when you use books, you sell the sources. Maybe they don't explain much, but now you might have, if you are using sources that are not humans, they are just material. So you say the material sources, like here say, not all sources are people. Material sources or non-people sources are physical items such as the recorded books, media guides, or perhaps even other stories that can provide information for a reporter, right? So a sports reporter filing a report after a game must have the leading scorers and then preferably other statistical information that would appear on a post-game box score or statistics, right? So usually we say that you're thinking about the way you cover your story as a sports reporter. Usually you say, okay, I want to use the primary source. But if you have ever heard a sports program, even on TV, they don't just, they will interview one source show, like a player. But now, there's going to be more information. They are going to talk about that player, which the player did not say is himself. Right? Even when you are watching, even even write up or even live program. But what they're going to do, they're going to be giving you statistics even before maybe the interview. They'll tell you this is the player, maybe the Ballon d'Or winner. So where do they get this other information? These other information they are obtained from what we're talking about here, the material sources, right? So they are material sources, but they are not like from people. It's more or less like it wouldn't be classified as the same, or maybe they are secondary sources, but usually they are not people. Right? They are just the statistics that are what they obtained from the books, from different materials that are archived somewhere, and they will enhance the actual story because they are going to, more or less like spice up the story. How? You talk about all those statistics. You get the information from the actual source. Now you'll be talking about how many goals he has scored, how many awards he has accumulated over time. Maybe his previous teams he has played. All the small details which are important could be, because all those small videos or maybe other videos, you cannot spend your interview, which is just maybe about maybe something, and then you spend it on asking the player to say, okay, how many maybe goals have you scored? Maybe how many awards have you? That would be wasting your time, unless if it is maybe an exclusive program. It's on TV. There's the program that is called an exclusive, whereby maybe you have got more time. But even if it's an exclusive program, some other details you don't even have to ask the source. You might just include them in your part of your discussion, but you need to get them from the material sources, which are books and other maybe channels that talk about, or they have got the records of that particular player, right? So usually it's important. And when you talk about the sources, you think about primary source, which are the actual sources we talk about here. This horse mouth, the story that is coming from the horse mouth. Then you have the secondary source whereby, it's now not from the horse mouth, but it's from the second stage that you can put it. The ones, it was, there were around people maybe who are observing the person, not observing the actual event, but observing the person who has observed the actual event, saying something. So you will have that chain. So in that way, as I say, you have these also sources whereby you say a material source whereby it's not just like that there are people, there are books. But now when it comes to sources, it's not that all the sources are going to be indicate or attributed to. Because when you as a sports reporter or as a journalist, when you get information, as a journalist is not you don't create stories, you don't create news. You report news. So because you report news, all the information that you're going to publish should be properly attributed to a source. You cannot just say your opinion if it's not an opinion page, because there are only a few platforms. If it's a newspaper, you have sections whereby you are going to put on your opinion. Usually you have those opinion pages. Opinion pages, usually they will put maybe your picture. It's a column. There's going to be a column. They will put your name in there, and they will indicate that the opinions on this column is of the author, meaning it's not of the newspaper. So in that case, it's a column. And usually a column is not even news. A column is a feature. And a feature is a type of creative writing. It's not news, it's your opinion. But when you are giving out the news stories that are going to be front page, all those as news stories, you don't put your opinion anywhere else. You just say, according to the source. The source has said, it's not you. So because of that, we indicate the sources. But now, it's not all the time that sometimes you indicate the sources, because you would have some other sources that are called behind the scene sources, right? And here say, not all sources will appear as a prevalent part of your story. In fact, some sources may not appear in your story at all, right? Behind the scene sources are the people who provide pertinent information or ideas for your story, but are not necessarily used as primary sources or even secondary sources in your actual story. For big reporters, developing behind scene sources is a key part of your keeping up with the ongoing maybe program. And okay, so behind the scene, usually, let me just say, can we say what is behind the scene? There could be these sources whereby, can you say most like they will give the tip-offs, they will keep you off about something. and or they'll give you, because the thing is they will give you the actual information, but you are not going to use them as the source. It's more or less like, instead of saying anonymous source, because that's we also have that type of anonymous sources there, but you are not going to indicate it. So what you're going to do, you're going to identify a source when you know that, okay, there's this information, then you need to have a source that is going to give you that information. They can even direct you, okay, if you get with this person, you might maybe tell you this the information or confirm to you, or so that you use, but you maybe, before maybe you go to that person, you might have had the same information from someone, and then because of other reasons, most people might not need to be like connected anywhere, not even being indicated that you got the information from somewhere, right? Let me see an example. We're going to have an example here. I don't know if right. So I think let's just say, like we talk about behind the scenes sources. You have the behind the scenes sources that those sources that are not, they don't want to be known, but they will give you the information. But they might just that's the thing. They might direct you to say, okay, go to this particular guy. He will tell you the same information. Then you go to the person, you check the information, and you accept that person. But in a scenario that maybe that particular person is not around, the information you have it, this person, this source, does not want to be attributed to. That's where now the anonymity comes in. Because we talked about anonymous sources, we've been about it. Or maybe a source who prays for anonymity or something like that. So they might say, okay, you might use the information I gave you, but now don't mention my name, my details. Right? So you indicate that maybe information, you got this information from an anonymous source. Right? So it could be the same behind the scene, but now it's scenario that you can't find an alternative whereby there's going to be someone who's going to be who you are going to quote as the source. Now, the person who gave you the information behind the scene might be an anonymous source, meaning you are not going to, you will make an agreement that you are not going to disclose the details of that particular. When you somebody, you have made an agreement of anonymity, it's an agreement whereby they say, even if somebody can ask you, can you review your sources? They say professionally, you are not supposed to review the sources because it's an agreement. If they say, if you review my source, well, there might be implications or repercussions when you review. For example, maybe the person, if the sources are going to be reviewed, you might go, for example, if you do politics. Most of the times when you have anonymous source, you don't have anonymous source in an anonymous story. If you can have an anonymous story, then you're quoting an anonymous source. People say, then you are lazy. Big bullies has been wonders. Then you are talking about, according to an anonymous source, he said this is just a normal story. There are so many supporters around. If somebody is to say, I don't want you to quote me, you got to go to another person. If that person, there are millions of people, but anonymous source will be, you want to get information that even ordinary people cannot give you that information. You will review maybe some top secrets. Now, the only person who can give you information, say, I don't want to be mentioned, because if they know that most of this information that comes like from the government, you say, it has been reviewed that this person was doing this. And you even see in the newspaper documents. And you say, how did, like even court documents, how did this court document, who will review this court document? Would it be an insider close to maybe that person? But because they know that person could be named, the job would not be there, could be fired. So because of that, you make a deal. You say, okay, I will use your information as an anonymous source. So when it comes to anonymity, there are scenarios. There could be an anonymous source who say, don't mention my name, but you can just mention my post. You just say, according to a government agent, or according to an official at the State House. So they could be okay. But there could be a scenario whereby they say, if you mention according to the officials, we will be under pressure still. They will say, oh, it means one of these officials that has betrayed. So all those officials could be in problem. So they might even tell you, no, don't even mention the post, body, don't even mention the name. But now, according to professional, like in professional journalism, they say, as a writer, to use an anonymous source is not the first option. It should be a last resort. That you have tried everything, you can't find the source, then you end up to have an anonymous source. And there could be reason could be that if you don't use that person as a source, that story will not come out. But if you know that there are some other people that you quote, and they will give you information and you quote them, and then you decide not to use them, and you use this anonymous source, it means you treat them as being lazy. Because the only problem is, the stories that are being published in media, they are meant to be believed by the audience. So how can the audience believe that you are saying, you are telling the truth? When you indicate the source, it's when people are going to believe. You indicate, oh, this story, the minister was supposed to say this. So because people they know the minister was supposed to believe, oh, I think it's true. But if you write something and you say, according to an anonymous source, people say, we don't even know this anonymous source. Maybe he might be lying. How can we tell the people that he's not lying? It's a problem. But if there is a source, if the information given by that source is the person who was lying, you are not responsible. You say, no, it's not me. Ask this person. Call the person and ask him, because it's not me. But if there is no name, no source, you are going to be responsible for whatever you are going to write there. You say, we don't know who to ask to confirm the reports. So you are going to be the one telling us. And maybe the scenario I say, the anonymous sources to be reviewed, only scenarios will be maybe criminal cases. There could be criminal cases where they say you should review your sources. But normally they even say, even if it's a criminal source, the same. Because there is an agreement, it's not good even to review the same. But those are maybe only a few scenarios whereby you do review that. But I don't know what else we have here apart from this another source. In our section, we're going to also observe what are called citizen journalists. There are going to be some articles whereby there are citizen journalists who are going to write, and they might be taken as sources. Citizen journalists are those, you have seen some other stories whereby those people who are not actually journalists, but they are located across the country. They might write something, what they witness where they are, and then they will send it out to you, right? So they will indicate, oh, this is written by a citizen journalist, meaning it was just one of the citizens, but which they see something, right? So they might be this scenario whereby you might use this kind of journalists because maybe they gave you a story that you don't find it anywhere else. They are the only ones who have got that story. Yeah, but still, you need to be so sure about the authenticity of their stories. How to verify that what they're saying is true. It's like the way they do NBC, that program, is it Kanizan Mabomba, whereby those stories, the ones who bring those stories are the citizen journalists. They just bring the story from their locations. Those stories you hear on this show, I mean that program, NBC reporters, they don't cover those stories. People just write something on a paper, they'll put address, they'll leave it. So most of us, no wonder when you listen to some of the stories, you even doubt yourself. Is this story true? It's like somehow they sound first of all comedy, and there were times whereby you have stories of similar nature. Because that's what they do. I know that language is included in NBC. They're the ones who included that language. The authors, they make it to be entertaining, which is a blunder. Because I will say, there is no way straightforward news could be entertaining news. Because what they do at the I remember somebody was interpreting, what is your main aim of this program? They said, no, our main aim of this program is we would like to entertain our audience. So no. It's like entertainment in the news is the one that will entertain the audience. If it's not entertaining in the news, how can it be entertaining the audience? No wonder. So I think the language they include, because they know that these are not the stories we write. They just put language that will sound much more interesting, entertaining. But it's funny because the stories that are presented in that program, they are not really entertaining stories. So how can you say that is no what I call straightforward news? They are being entertaining, so they should be entertaining news. Yeah, but the reason, as I'm saying, all those stories are written by what I call citizens. It's citizen journalism, and there is a lot of doubt in some of the stories to say if they are being true events. I even doubt some of them. Even the way they say that they write, somebody did something, and then after this, the way it's going to end, this particular person, Panopa Agenda solution. As you mean the actual story, don't mean we have to people say somebody Agenda solution somewhere. How many people do we observe to do the Agenda solution as a concern for the people? But most of the time, even the way they write, they don't even follow journalistic way of writing as a normal story. Already we talked about writing for the mass media. You've done that. Pyramid, inverted pyramid. I don't even know that. If you maybe don't know, you're going to write it. But the inverted pyramid, whereby we say the normal story is a pyramid. Small at the top, large at the bottom. At the top is where the story is starting. Somebody is sleeping. Wake up in the morning, brush, take tea, whatever, body bus. At the end, he has been caught, he was still in the office. For people who listen to the story, who read the story, we don't care about where he's coming from, what he was doing at the beginning. We care about what has happened at the end. But to start a story to say somebody was sleeping, then after he was dreaming, after dreams, he woke up. Then you think when you continue reading that story, then he took breakfast. From there, he forgot his bag and they took the bag. And you will not even complete the story. But you will not know that at the end of the story, there's something interesting. So if they flipped the pyramid to start writing from the most interesting part. This so has been arrested. That's the top. And going to the least information. Right. So if you listen to that, they don't even follow. They follow the pyramid. They will start to say, it's like a short story. You see? So I said, no. News stories, the way we write as journalists, we don't write as a short story. Because if you write as a short story, people will not even finish reading the stories. Unless if it's a feature. So it's just funny that something, but the reason I'm trying to relate it to the citizen journalism. Say somehow you use them, but there might be doubts in their credibility of their stories, right? So something like that. Maybe to wrap up on this one. On the same, not just about, but just talk about the on the same sources, whereby we talked about, if you remember, we say as a reporter, I think this is not just for us. Any reporter where around, you have your own what is called a contact. It's not a big dictionary, hardcover. Usually you have maybe a small hardcover somewhere, whereby you write down your sources, I mean your contacts, regular contacts, all the details. You write them there, which is very important to you and your profession. So, as you say, most journalists keep contact books in which they note the names, the addresses, the telephones, numbers, and emails, address of people who are providing them with information, right? So the same people are likely to be useful sources in the future, right? So when the contact book as for your sources, you know that it's not a matter of getting the information, I mean the contact for one story. You don't do that. I say you talked about cultivating sources. In professional, if you are a journalist, like a sports journalist, you don't get a source for one story. You do what is we say like cultivating sources. You found a source, you get the details. No one will say professional, what do you need to do if you are new maybe? You don't say, can you tell me your details? You ask for a business card. Do you have a business card? So a person, if a person has a business card, will give. When you give you a business card, everything is there. There's a phone number, there are email addresses. It means you don't even start. Even the names of the sometimes I say these sources names could be difficult to spell. So everything is going to be there. If a person doesn't have a business card, it's where you ask him the details, like maybe your phone number. And the professional will say, if you want to be safe, you don't write it. If the name is difficult, you don't write it yourself. Right? You take a paper and give the paper to the source. Can you write your name? Deliver it. Because if you take it for granted, you say, I think I know, I can manage to do it. You might write the name wrong, right? And the story, when it comes out, you're going to be the one to blame. They will say, no, this is not, I don't write my name like this. I don't know, that's the way I heard it. No, that's not an excuse. So the only way is say, even the owner writes his own name or her own name, if it's going to be a wrong or wrongly written, that's not your fault. You say, I didn't, he wrote it himself. Right? So you don't have a problem. Or sometimes if it's going to be on air, it's where you ask for pronunciation. Because if it's on radio, it's about reading. Eh? So if you know that you are not, like we say some of the names, they might appear as an incident way, but they are not ready in that way. Eh? Like you talk about French names, eh? Even Chichewa, or some other name we talk about from the north, eh? The Chiwambos, eh? Whereby you read like Chibambo, but they'll tell you it's Chiwambo. Right? So if you don't know, you ask how do you pronounce your name. So we are believing French names like names like Jean. Right? Jean, if you read it, it's like Jane, but they say it's Jean. Henry, in French they say it's only. So if you don't know, you read it, not literally. And you be saying, no, we don't pronounce our name. So if it's on air, if it's going to be on radio, you need to be careful yourself. So I think this is a different name. You engage the source, right? And then they'll give you the way they pronounce it for your own sake. But it's important to do, first of all, to keep contacts. As I always say, you have a contact book for your sources. And we talked about, on the category sources, as I said, is you don't contact the sources only when you want to get information. You just have time sometimes in between to contact a source to just like, as if it's a friend. Maybe just to say, oh, I wanted just to greet you. How long? It's been a while. They might seem like silly conversation, but you might discover that the time you are contacting your source, not for information. They might tell you, no. Like, I stopped working at that place. Right now, so you discover, oh, this source has changed place. might give you new contacts. Oh no, this time I'm working at this place. Or sometimes you say to make sure that you are holding on to work sources. Instead of always asking them for information, you know what they are, what they are in terms of, in the category, or maybe what they are specializing in. You might even just call them to tell them the story yourself. Oh, have you heard about this? As if you were just giving them new information. No, I didn't hear about it. Okay, there's this situation. So you do this once, twice. The time that you need to get information from them, they might not be hesitant. They know that this person usually provide me information. But if you all the time when you call, it means you want to get information. They might even cut you off. Say, this person always irritates. So you discover that there's a time whereby you need that source so badly. Because you cannot have a story without a source. Now, you call that source, he's cutting you off. Because all the time, you don't even want to play a joke. Because as I told you, if it's a sports, you don't just go to get information at the actual playground. The game has ended, then you are interviewing the person. As I told you, when the game has ended, there are going to be winners, there are going to be losers. But the ones that will make good stories are the losers because of the reaction. People like the reaction from the winners are most of the time it's obvious. They might tell you, we're excited, this and that, and you might know. But the losers will tell you a lot. They will tell you, no, this game, they really fixed the game, which is another story on this one. There couldn't be much fixed. They will tell you a lot, and the problem maybe because we don't get funding from the sources, the sponsors, or maybe the government. So if you can engage between these two parts, you discover the losers might tell you a lot. But on the problem, on the losers, they might give you information, more information, or they might even just shut you down. Why? You have lost the game. You need to be speaking a lot. You are bored. You don't want the reporters coming to you, want to talk to you, and you are bored because you are lost the game. They might even try to shut you down. That's why we say that as a reporter, sports journalist, when you are conducting interviews, like even those interviews, post-match interviews, you cannot conduct those without research. You need to do research to be so sure that the information you have been given is not just half information. Because they might not give you a lot of information. But I'm saying post-match interviews will be a problem because there's too much emotions. But when you go to their training ground, it's easy because when you say training ground, they are not under pressure. They are more friendly, and you might get to know them personally. Oh, and even as I said that, you don't just ask them about food. Where is your home ground? Your home district. Oh, I'm from maybe Shore or Zim. Oh, maybe you're from the same district. Oh, I think you might be my relative. Something like that. So once you get that connection with personal with them, next time when you want to get information, it's easy. You'll be easy. So that's what is called cultivating sources, whereby you get contact with them. And I'm saying, I did been in Malawi, journalists have a lot of money. They say you can even invite them to dinner. Surprising them. Then, okay, I call you. Yes, if you don't have a time this afternoon, I'll lunch somewhere else. You can come. When you do something, that can happen. You think if you want the information, that person can shut you down. Will be free to give you information. So those are some of the tricks that. What I've observed for myself is I've never observed the buying lunch thing, but I've observed the shutting issue, whereby a reporter just call, especially editors, call another source, but the way the person who's calling you, not as if it's a source, calling you as if it's just a friend. I said, what's so hard? Not even there's something like that. Suddenly talking about other stories that will be normal, having somebody drinks, they are going to talk about it, the right sport, that's what they'll be talking about. But at the end of the day, they want the information. But I was looking for this information. Do you know anything about this? No, maybe they get information. So it's another way whereby, these people hold on to these resources. Because when they want to know what, when it comes to sources, it's now, that's your lifeline as a broadcast. You can't get stories without the sources. So you need to make sure that you have you keep hold of them. Well, I think time we are running one out of time here. I believe that did you check the? I sent a certain document. Then you check one of those documents. I sent on the group. There is one of them is I think that there are a number of books. A certain book that is sports journalism. The other book is there's just a sports like a module. So you see this one. There is a contribution of the sources. All right. What I was talking about is building relationship with sources. What else? Okay. I think we go through majority of the things that we talked about. But still, as I read last time, because of this thing, it's better with the world of internet. Keep browsing. There's so many books there. You just check.
Send some of the names of the books.
Right. It's like usually the books that I sent them. I uploaded them on the group, right? So maybe if you open the group, if you are not seeing, I can really upload them.
Me and Austin, we had the slides, but share. So my phone.
Everything. Yeah. So what I can do is
you can just send it.
I can really send it because there are some, there are not that many, but there are some that like including the one I'm using this information there. I uploaded it there. So most of the books that you will find issues to do with maybe sports journalism would be just like journalism books. If it's, but there are some, I think. Okay, let me see. I will just upload some. I do upload, right?
So sports journalism,
Okay.
The journalists are these people that are on BBC when there's a game. Those are the people that's sports journalism.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because I think it's, the concept of the whole journalism as the whole.
Okay, so, but there's also, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you also have to follow.
Okay, I'm trying to ask you a question. Answer your question.
Yeah.
I'm saying, do you know like the concept of journalism as a whole? When you say journalist, for example, a journalist, what do you understand? Or let me say the world of journalism. What do you think? What do they do?
From your perspective, it consists of reporting, searching information in all areas, because you can't be at one only.
Okay.
Because you also have to search about the weather.
Okay. So now let me now connect you. I want to just to make sure that now you are in right perspective. Journalism, maybe to sum it up, journalism is about mass communication. There is communication, there are different types of communication. There's communication between you and your friend. That is one way, like a communication which is sometimes they say face-to-face communication. One person. Now there might be communication between you and 2 people, or 3 people, 4 people, who are in the same room, like this. You see them and you can speak to them, they'll hear you. Now, there might be communication between 12 people, you might see them. But now, if you can say communication between you and 1 million people, can you say that, okay, I will stand here, I will speak 1 million people? 1 million people who are not in this room, some are in, how can you do that? So you see, when you are communicating with people you are seeing, it's easy to know even their reaction. Say, they are not happy with what I'm saying. But in mass communication, because the media is now about the mass communication, like if you see the vehicles of communication, the one you got information from, books, do you know how many people, or that book you wrote, can you know that these specific people have got my book? If you send them out there, you assume that I want this book to be for kindergartens. But there's a possibility the book that is for kindergarten to run even for a grandpa somewhere. You can't know. You are just assuming that, my target audience will have these. So what do you think, generally, whereby you send information to a large number of people? Most of the time it's like you might send them simultaneously. Usually, there are people that have different ages, occupations, and the like. And so, the information that you send will depend on the platform you are using. For example, if you're using the radio, it means you need to know the characteristics of radio. That, okay, radio, do you see pictures on radio like actual pictures? No.
You just have an imagination.
Imagination. So it means if you are telling a story to a person who is not seeing the actual picture, the way you are going to tell the story, you can't tell the story as if the pictures are there. You have to tell a story to make that person paint mental pictures. So you are going to talk more to describe some of the things. But when it's on TV, you know that people are going to be seeing these things. So you would not have a lot of things to say. But what you are going to say, you are not going to be saying things that people are seeing. You should say something that will help people understand what they are seeing. So you have magazines, books, and the like. So reporters, I mean, because there are different aspects. You have, as I'm saying, health, politics, sport, and the like. So you can have journalists who covers different disciplines. Because in journalism, you have different disciplines in them. Health, politics, and the like. So there might be some who say they might switch covering everything. Some will be specialists who say they just cover maybe sports. And those will be special. So in the specialists, in the sports itself, you also have demarcation in it. Because you have sports, then there's golf, football. So maybe you heard about beat reporters, like this beat. Beat reporters, they say in sports, they might only cover maybe football, like a beat. So I can say, I'm a beat reporter, it means you don't cover golf, but it's sports. So if you are a beat reporter in sports, the section you are reporting, it means you need to master that section. If you are covering about football, you need to know everything about football. I will say the difference between sports journalism and other type of journalism. In sports, it's not all about the reporting only. It's also knowing the terminology. Because if you know the terminology that is used in football, when a ball has been put in the net, it's not the same way that is used in basketball. It means when you are saying it's football, you should know when the ball is in the net, this person has scored. If it's in basketball, this person has dunked. If it's in golf, there is maybe a belly. If it's in netball, there is a basket. So it means you, as a sports journalist, you even need to know the terminology. That when I'm reporting about this sport discipline, this is the language they use. But the thing is, it's all to do, all these things is to do with the research. Research is important in everything. If you want to be a journalist, like specific in health, whatever, that's where you need to connect like research even with the sources I'm talking about. You do research, you read more about that area. You know the terminology they use, you know how to, and you know the sources. If you don't know much of the things, that's why I'm saying that you are not going to be saying everything. If you want to talk about a complex issue, you should have a source. For example, if you're talking about the law, then you can't say you don't know much about the law, but you know one of these things. You should have contact for lawyers. So if you want an explanation, you just call a lawyer and let that lawyer explain, and you quote that lawyer. This is the explanation. If in the same sports you are not clear on something, you need to make sure that you have got as much contacts as possible. Contacts of the coaches, players. Now, when you have enough contacts, if you are not clear on something, you want some clarification, you just call one of the sources and let the person speak. Then you make a story. The difference in sports journalism, say, is more active. Like you want to make it more lively because it's a sports. The way you report, and we make sure we use a lot of action verbs. The headlines. Not like it should not look dull headlines. Even the images. You don't usually just put the images whereby somebody is posing like a person phone. You usually, but if somebody is in action, or a football player was moving or scoring, so you use such kind of action. I mean, but in sports, it's not that it's different in terms of other areas like other reporting. This is the concepts are the same. The way you want to report, to ask questions, the way you The only difference, main one is this is sports, and the major difference would be most of the stories you cover in sports are pre-planned because you have a fixture. You already know in June it's going to be this camp. So most of the game you could plan before that. Okay, if you need traveling in June, we are going to go to Qatar. Okay, do we have everything? Why, if you are recording for ordinary stories, you can't know that tomorrow this is going to happen. There could be breaking news. Oh, something has happened there. There's something. So most of the times, you might just know, okay, there are issues to do with this, but you cannot say that you have a schedule plan already. That tomorrow you might have where you want to go, but it might not be that place because something might go. So maybe that's the major difference between our section and the others. But I cannot tell you, see, it was only time. Did everybody wait here? Oh. Unfortunately, we don't have much time to talk. We need to go to another class now. Up to. Yes, so let's stop there. Yes, we are already done here. If you want this class, no problem. We are done already.